Hey, little queen. So, this is, depending how you look at it, I've heard people say episode 4, episode 3. To me, this is episode 3 since the premiere was 2 parts, but I don't know. Again, depending how you look at it. So, Sam Esmail was like tweeting someone because they asked if like something, I believe was like the music or a band or whatever, and he was just like, yep. I don't know. I just thought I'd throw that out there. But if you do have Twitter, I know they do it on Facebook too, but not really. Their Snapchat is usually active when there's like events going on and such for Mr. Robot. But if you do have Twitter, Mr. Robot tends to like tweet with the series, and well, with every episode really, like the whole series, a whole season. And they always tweet out like little, I would say, like transcripts of like dialogue and stuff, basically like the lines of certain, I guess, key parts in the episodes. And they also like tweet back to you at times. Again, remember they follow me and stuff. And if you do still want me to send them messages, if you do remember from last time, American Horror Story, the season 6 teaser trailer is out. If you want me to tell Mr. Robot or Stephanie Corneliuson, because she does follow me on Snapchat and stuff, to like make Funko Pops of the Mr. Robot characters, please leave a comment down below or like the video so I can know. Um, but again, if you do have a Twitter, follow Mr. Robot, follow Portia, Curly, Rami, Christian, Sam, and the Mr. Robot account, and maybe you can get tweets back and stuff also. So getting into it again, to me, this is like episode 3, but this is 2.2 in it underscore 1.asec, whatever it is. So we basically see a recap of the previous episode, but also we do show, we are shown, I should say, Tyrell from last season when he is at the dinner with that guy whose wife he was gonna, like do in the bathroom and stuff when she was peeing. And then we see Portia and the attorney, and then the old man that they're like talking about and stuff like that. And then the FBI F Society, which was the last week's ending of the episode. Now, next week's episode for August, maybe like the 5th or 6th, I don't know. What next Wednesday will be, I could be totally wrong on that. Maybe it's like August 4th. But it does seem that we are going to see maybe some old faces, maybe some new faces. There is an old face that does pop up in this episode as well. But what I'm saying is next season, I think, as also next episode in this season, I feel like we're just gonna keep getting like more intense and more out there, and there are a lot of references and hints to maybe another person that could show up. I don't know. I'll get into that, but I do feel also from like following other actors and like minor actors that have said things or have hinted at things, we may see them come back again. Who knows? But at the San Diego Comic Con, they did have a virtual reality thing where we got to see Shayla return, basically. And it's Shayla and Elliot on a Ferris wheel. I didn't watch it because I don't have a VR thing, but you know. So, anyways, getting into this episode. So, there's a knock at Elliot's door. And at first, I thought this was going to be like Tyrell, like when Tyrell was there in a way, so to speak, or Mr. Robot when he showed up. And this is all set in the past, and this is kind of realized before like commercial breaks, so to speak. And then it's during the day and stuff, and Elliot's doing that CD thing, how he like writes the name of like a person or a band on a CD, and then he stuffs it away in like the CD thing, and that's how he like, I guess, keeps a physical digital file of like people he's hacked, or just, I guess, important information or information that he feels is important to him, and anything like that, anything that could possibly be related to the cause, which is the revolution and everything. And then we do see Darlene in F Society mask at the door, and it's Halloween. And according to Darlene, that was like their favorite holiday growing up, dressing up as another person, pretending to be someone else, like scaring the spirits away. And we do see like more of a biblical feel this season, I'm getting, especially as this episode progressed from last time, and like a lot of references and such like that. So I don't know if there's something like that could be set up that's going to be something like I Am, where basically kind of like in the Avengers Age of Ultron, like that reference God, or things like that. So I don't know how this season will progress, but I do get like a lot of religious undertones. Don't know if Sam Esmail is very, very religious or whatever. Maybe he just thought that would be cool to throw in like a Madonna, like a prayer kind of a thing. But aside from that, um, Elliot was basically telling her like, you should have called first, like, so I knew you were coming, because Elliot's always doing some like weird thing on the computer. Sorry. And she's like, oh, like I want to go out and stuff like that. And Elliot's like, I'm gonna go out, but then she's like, we know Elliot doesn't really go out. And then she's like, look, I just like want to hang out and stuff, kind of like when they were kids. Let me move. Darlene just basically hangs over, And then they're watching the careful massacre of the bourgeoisie, which to me is like bougie. Like bougie people, like expensive, lavish, basically hinting at the fact, I guess, before they actually plan the attack on Evil Corp, maybe this influenced them just a bit and stuff like that. And there are people in there with F Society masks. And it's kind of interesting because this was before they ever planned anything F Society related and anything like that. So maybe they got the idea from it. Because when she did knock on the door on the F Society mask, she did mention that she found it at a little store in like the Chinatown there. And she was like, oh wow, I didn't know they made these masks from the movies and stuff. So again, it's kind of interesting that I guess in the series they picked up on this, the careful massacre of the bourgeoisie, into their real life idea of taking down Evil Corp, taking down certain people. And he does kind of mention how, you gotta destroy public confidence. And we did see that with the money burning and everything like that. And then she's like, oh, like as she's just making small talk, she gets like $10 coupons from Postmates, which is like a food delivery service mostly. Like if you live in like LA or New York, really, like where I suppose is the most popular app there, kind of like an Uber for them. It basically is like your own personal assistant, so to speak. Like if you need food or whatever, like you pay someone to buy your food and bring it to you, but you pay double. I don't know if you're that lazy in a way. Then it looks like they're just getting high, or they're just smoking whatever. And then Elliot is talking about his previous job before Allsafe, before he was under the Evil Corp umbrella, so to speak. And then he was like, oh, like the night of Memorial Day weekend and everything like that. Like this was going down, blah, blah, blah. People go out and do this, whatever. He stayed, and then he's like, when I woke up, he's like, every server was destroyed. And he was like, I don't know how that happened. I don't remember doing that, etc., etc. And then a judge basically ruled that he has to go to anger management and that he's crazy and stuff. And I guess that is like aside from every other thing, we're like, okay, so there was a job before Allsafe. He was planning this all along, so to speak. And then Darlene is like, the only people who are like psychos are like those Wall Street people, the Wall Street people that F Society wants to take down, that Elliot wants to take down, that in a way it shows like Darlene wanted to take down. And then she asks about the mom, like if Elliot ever sees the mom. And at first I thought that meant like, since Elliot sees like Mr. Robot who's dead, his father, I was thinking like, is the mom dead? But then he was like, no, he's like, I don't see her. And then Darlene is like, every time I go to see her, like, she's always just like talking smack about their dad, Mr. Robot. And I was like, well, they all have daddy issues now available on iTunes. And she just like, like whatever. And then she tells Elliot to put the dad's jacket on after Elliot says like, you want to see something and stuff. And then she makes him put on the mask because she's like, I said so, basically. Like, I want to see you put everything on. And then he starts, I would say, slipping into the character of Mr. Robot, into this anonymous, like character and everything like that. And he's like, maybe I should take that job at Allsafe, like to take Evil Corp down and everything like that. Again, wearing that F Society shirt, so maybe this is like the origins of F Society and stuff like this. Because I did say we probably are going to see backgrounds of these characters and more. And then she's like, are you joking and stuff? Like, I really can't tell because he's wearing the mask and everything. You can tell she's a little bit afraid. She's like a little bit hesitant now. And then I was thinking when I wrote down here, I was like, I'm pretty sure this is like giving away the plan of the first season. And basically, again, the origins of their whole, I guess, scheme in a way to take down Evil Corp, how they're going to do it, who they're going to take down, what's going to be involved, who's going to be involved, and anything like that. And then there's going to be fallout and follow through that they have to really think about. That's what Elliot says. He's like, taking them down will be easy. It's just going to be like the after effects, which I did mention that this season it does seem like they didn't think that through. There are going to be consequences for their actions. They didn't know, like they say, they probably bit off more than they could chew, and probably anything that they could really fathom. Like they didn't truly think how far they're going with this and the consequences for their actions. And also, it does seem like since they kill Romero and Gideon, like the consequences of their actions that connect to other people, in a way innocent people and stuff like that who kind of wanted out, who are really totally just not involved. And someone like Gideon who just got shot just cause he was on the news, like they say. And then again, he mentions how they need to destroy the public confidence in them and stuff. And to me, that was like the money burning, where I'm pretty sure Darlene was the one who said last episode or the episode before, like, oh, like, this is like money burning. If he burns the money, like, they lose confidence, blah, blah, blah. Like, in a way, I guess they see us, they truly do have money to burn, you know, that kind of a saying, so to speak. And then he's like, this is basically how we change the world and like change everything when he was having that conversation. In the first season, with Mr. Robot on the Ferris wheel, so it just zooms in on the Society mask, and then this loud music just starts playing and stuff, and he's just like shaking. And then it cuts to commercial, and that's how I knew this was the past. This was before F Society ever like decided to do anything and to like take over and actually go through with their plan to take down Evil Corp and, you know, I guess like they say, free everyone from the debt and just live this happy life that Elliot kind of touches upon later on in this episode. So it is very much the whole origins of F Society and this whole plan to take down Evil Corp. And into Elliot's bedroom, again, the new one. It was like a red room, so to speak, because there were like red curtains. The room wasn't red, but you know what I mean. And there was, oh my god, there is a story that I remember reading of something like this where it's kind of reminds me of Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. It was like an old publication or something, and there's like a virus or something like that, and like it goes into a red room or whatever, or someone with the red mask. I don't know, but it made me think of that one story or like piece of literature. Don't truly remember, but either way, we see, you know, basically, Darlene walking. You know, she's living her life and stuff, and then she's on a train. There's some people with gas masks, like on the next like seat, so to speak, on the subway, and then Elliot, it goes back to him, and then Darlene, and then he's writing in his journal and everything like that. And then as she's leaving the train, there's someone with a VR thing, which I was mentioning from Comic Con, where they had like a VR experience. You know, it's like a big event and stuff like this. So I think that was the thing with Shayla that I mentioned earlier. And then we see Elliot pacing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth in his room and stuff like this. And he's playing a crossword, and then it's basically him and Mr. Robot, and they're both in the same room or whatever, but it's really Darlene, and he's saying how like Darlene has these issues and stuff like this, and he's like, okay, Darlene's like asking for help and everything like that. And then Darlene is like, well, why are you here? And Elliot tells her that it's just better than the old place that he was in, you know? And that probably means like isolation. He wasn't talking to anyone. He was always by himself, and he was always, you know, in a way up to no good, so to speak. And then she mentions Gideon and everything like that, and he kind of like, I know, like I watch the news and everything. And then she's like, it's dangerous and stuff like this, like, you know, and he knows that it's dangerous, but I don't think he's known that Romero is dead, which again, Romero is a part of F Society, so that will take a toll. That is something that they have to watch out for. And then we go to basically them talking about having an event at the bailout in DC, which Elliot doesn't know because this is more or less Darlene's plan now. I guess she's trying to take over as Elliot and Mr. Robot, so to speak, but I don't believe she truly has the power or the mental capacity to do it, since Elliot is kind of a bit crazy and kind of has two heads, which are better than one. And then basically saying like, well, what'd you expect? And they bring up like the bad part after, like everything that was going to be hard, like the hard part of the whole plan, the whole scheme is going to be afterwards, the follow through after everything is said and done. Like they say, it's just, I don't know if you'd say picking up the pieces or anything like that, but everything that came after the revolution, that's going to be the hardest part. Like they say, rebuilding, reconstruction, so to speak, and to say the least. And then Elliot tells her, well, that was him talking. That was Mr. Robot. That wasn't me. Like, when he put on the mask and everything, she's like, I don't know if that's you. Like, is this a joke or whatever? It was Mr. Robot and not truly Elliot, not Darlene's brother, that came up with the plan that decided to go through with this and made all these crazy things. And then it was like, well, maybe I need him, Darlene says, because, you know, Elliot isn't helping me. Like, I'm not going to get anything through Elliot and anything like that. And then there's no reason why. Like, in a way, Darlene won't say why, and Elliot won't say why. Because Elliot knows, like, when she needs help, her flaw is, like, she doesn't say why. She tries to beat around the bush and seem tough and everything like that. But she just won't admit what she needs the help for, why she needs the help, anything like that. Darlene, in a way, is kind of a hard-headed and stubborn person. Maybe in the wrong way, maybe in the right way. But just this conversation makes it seem like Darlene may be having a little bit of a breakdown or an issue with the killings and anything like that that has been happening so far. Because, Gideon Romero, and then she was kind of being followed and stuff like this. So, she is the new person, I guess, on target now if she is going to take over for Elliot. If she is going to F Society, if she is still meeting with the people and everything like that. So, the FBI raiding F Society, because we do remember the last scene of last week's episode. That was the FBI agent, again, following the little end of the world party flyer that they left out to F Society, and basically she was like, well, shit, it's in a way been here this whole time, because she was putting pieces together by herself, I guess, like they say, behind the scenes, like she was figuring it out and stuff like this. And she was saying how all those people on the list that were printed out that Romero had were people who interviewed Gideon. So as she figured that out, she was on that list too. She's like, don't know who these people are really. No, Romero is a part of F Society in a way. Maybe they tracked him or, stuff like this. And she's onto them. She's onto F Society. She's probably onto Darlene at the very least. And then this guy was like, well, the whole party was on social media and stuff. And then they're like, oh, that's stupid. Like, why would they do it? And then she says, well, that's stupid. She says, in a way, like, then we're just as dumb or dumber because, they just found out about it. They just found the F Society place. They just found the End of the World party. Because they're like, there is a lot of End of the World parties like this and stuff like this. So they're like, how do we know, like, this is really important? They tell her. And then she's like, there is this DJ that was here and, like, he was in Vegas and doing shows and blah, blah, blah. And then she also was saying, like, well, we're going to check, like, other people, like, everybody who was here, we're going to check all their social medias. We're going to, like, track them down and see, like, what this End of the World party truly was. And then they're like, okay, but, like, why are we called down here? Why is the whole FBI here? Why is there, like, a search team, so to speak? And then they're like, well, we need evidence and everything like that. And she's basically like, I got it. And she pulls out a bullet, and that was behind, like, a game or something like this. And we do remember when the season opened up, basically, there was, like they say, a mini scene. And also we did see this in, I want to say, the first season where Elliot pulled out a gun from the popcorn. And we don't truly know if he shot Tyrell, because in a way, we don't truly know if Joanna knows Tyrell's alive. We don't really know if Elliot did talk to Tyrell, or maybe it was in his head or something like this, and, just something that he created and anything like that. So, again, we don't know where that bullet casing or shell casing is from. So, we can only assume Elliot shot it. Maybe he shot Tyrell. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he cleaned up the evidence, but that is evidence that the FBI has, or maybe some kind of foul play, maybe some kind of murder, maybe who knows what else they can bring him into that can relate to them, to the 5-9 attack, to the hackings, to everything like that. And again, will they catch Darlene or will they catch Elliot? Maybe they'll get other people from F Society. We don't truly know how it's going on, but they have evidence. They raided F Society. Basically, they're in the lair, so they have something. And then we get to Joanna, and she's in the car with some guy, and then, of course, like, her, like, FBI agent person, kind of, I guess, bodyguard, so to speak. And I don't remember if this was Vera's brother or anything like that. I want to say yes, but I'm not completely sure on that. If you watched the episode, please tell me down below. And then she's like, oh, well, my husband's going to return soon and stuff like this. And then the guy is saying, like, oh, well, I'm just going to keep telling the same story. But, like, he's like, basically, like, the law is after me. And, like, I don't know how long I can survive because I'm also living on, like, this kind of allowance. He's like, there's no way for me to live off of that or anything. So she gives him money in an envelope and stuff because she kind of realizes he needs it and they need to keep him quiet. They need to keep him under control and stuff like this. So not sure what role he truly plays with Joanna, what Joanna is trying to do here. Since Tyrell is gone and she's just doing what she, I guess, believes will benefit her, is going to benefit the baby, maybe. Who knows? And maybe he also is an accomplice of sorts, or maybe she's an accomplice of his for some other thing. Maybe she knew Vera, maybe not. Who knows how this season will go. And then she tells, like, her little bodyguard person to speak, and he tells her that they're running low on funds. They can't get the money from Tyrell from something package, don't remember what it is, and stuff like this. And then basically that there's not going to be enough money to keep that guy quiet. And there's not enough funds in the future to be like, hey, like, we can keep him quiet for this long, and, like, we can pay him to say this and that. Like, they just well, he doesn't know how far they're gonna go with it. And then Joanna is basically saying like she's done. She doesn't want to talk about that topic anymore. Like, let's just stop it. Like, I don't want to hear it. And they drive away. And this place is the place where Elliot woke up, which is why I say I want to say it's Vera's brother, but I can't remember if this is the guy who told Elliot, like, hey, like we're gonna tow your car if you don't pay. You're here for like 3 days or whatever. So again, I can't remember who that guy is. And maybe, if it is, maybe Joanna's paying him to be like, where did Tyrell go? What was Tyrell doing here? Where was Elliot? What happened? So that's why I say maybe there's some kind of accomplice. Maybe it could be Vera. Maybe it's just something Joanna has up her sleeve to use as leverage against someone. And then Portia Doubleday's character just gets me this season. Like, it makes me laugh because we see Angela at. It looks like she's at a crosswalk or something, or maybe she's like in front of a place, but she has her earphones in. And I'm assuming she's playing those things that, like, I am strong, I am beautiful, I am worthy. And it's basically like, oh, like, I place myself, in, like, the best position, and I dissolve false messages, and my beliefs are realities, and I don't know, just those things make me laugh, just seeing Angela, like, in the mirror saying it. But she's, like, I guess listening to it or repeating it in her head to herself. And there's an arrest at Evil Corp and stuff, and then she's like, my, basically, dreams will be coming true right now and everything like that. And if you do remember, these are the two guys that she had dinner with. And when he looks back, I don't know if he saw Angela and he's like, what the hell, or something like that. But Angela's basically like, because, people were staring like an arrest in broad daylight, and who knows what kind of information they had on them and stuff like this. But she got him. She went through with that plan. Who knows if it was a plan all along for her to get them, arrested. But we'll see later in the series and the season. And then we go to Craig Robinson, and he's playing chess with Elliot. And then Elliot is like, are you going to teach me how to play or something? Because Craig Robinson's character tells him something. I forgot what he says. And then he's like, no, he's like, you need to play yourself. And, like, you got to play your thoughts and stuff. Like, you're trapped in it. And it's like, you need to basically have a confession with me and stuff like this. And he's trying to get something out of Elliot, which is why I say I don't truly know if Craig Robinson's character is going to be like a Joanna, where we know she's bad in a way, but maybe she has good intentions for what she does. Who knows with Craig Robinson's character? And then he's like, you can't keep all that talking in your head and everything like this. And then he's just saying, like, like, what ifs. And then Elliot's kind of like, oh, Krista doesn't know and stuff like this, so, like, maybe Craig Robinson could help him. Anything like that. And then Mr. Robot is like, well, if you tell him, he's like, I'm going to find, like, the tallest building and, like, push you off of it, which is basically Elliot committing suicide to keep quiet. And then Elliot's basically like, well, if I do this, like, it's going to help Darlene. And, like, basically Mr. Robot is like, no, because if you tell him something, if you confess to someone that we can't trust, we don't know, we've just befriended, so to speak, like, it'll probably lead to the death of everyone. Not only in F society, but, like, family. And he's basically saying the road is going to be paved with all your dead friends and family and stuff like this. Because, taking down Evil Corp was a big thing. And remember, if we do know what Darlene said, they have a Madam Executioner at Evil Corp and stuff like this, who not only kills lawsuits, but those lawsuits end in death. So there is that. And then again, we see those guys from the dinner arrested on the TV and everything like this. And it seemed that Angela gave that CD to the lawyer lady or the attorney lady to get them arrested and everything like that. So after she kind of blew her off, she kind of goes crawling right back to her for help, since she is part of the law and stuff like this. And I guess Angela uses her as an advisor, just to be like, like, I need help, like, I got this, and this is what, Evil Corp is doing with me, this is what this old guy wants, and stuff like this, basically telling her all her life and what's happening. And then she's like, well, these are, like, like, I have nice things and everything. She's like, but she's like, maybe this information is gonna be against me, like, it's leverage, against Angela, or maybe for Angela. We don't really know what their plans are with Angela, really, because, maybe she's in, I want to say the term is like the beehive or something like this, or the bird's nest, whatever. And then, it's like, maybe they do need her and stuff. And then she talks about, like, these transcripts or something like this from an agreement that they had the conversations in. And the lawyer lady is basically saying, like, no, like, my attorneys were looking over it. There's anything missing, like, we would have, like, known it, or there's anything that's suspicious, we would have seen it, or, like, heard about it, like, like, it wouldn't slip their eye and stuff. And then Angela says, like, I'm the part that's missing. She's like, there's a reason they wanted me, like, somehow they knew, or somehow they planned it out this way, which is why I say it's a web that leads to Elliot, everything back, but also in a way we don't know what is the plan. And it's kind of like, well, when you make plans, God laughs, so to speak. And then she's like, I may be in the agreement, you know, like she's very adamant saying like, I'm the missing link in all of this, like in my issue, in my position. She's like, where I am, she's like, I have to be in that agreement. She's like, maybe they look it over because you guys aren't me, like we have to look at it together and stuff like this. So they're gonna do that. And then we go to a chessboard and Elliot and Mr. Robot, and they're gonna say it's gonna be one game to end all the games, and the winner's gonna take all, and by that he means all control. Like Mr. Robot wins, Mr. Robot is free. If Elliot wins, Mr. Robot has to go away, so to speak. So it's kind of like a mind game by himself of sorts. And then he's like, okay, he's like, confess and I'll leave and everything like this, you know. He's like, but if you lose, you know, I'm forever in charge again. And then they mentioned Tyrell again, how he was in the car for 3 days later, and he's just like, but I don't know what happened. And obviously, in a way, Mr. Robot will know, because maybe Mr. Robot came out. Maybe Mr. Robot did something to Tyrell, but it's Elliot still. But he just can't find that part in his mind, that memory. And Mr. Robot does tell him that is the absence of knowing. Like, you know, but you just, in a way, you don't want to know. Or maybe it's just like subconsciously blocking it out of his mind while he's trying to figure it out and trying not to. But he's like, we're basically two halves in perpetual war and stuff. And he's like, we both want peace and everything like this. And he's like, well, there's no common ground, and that's basically what we need to fight for in a way, which is the chess game. That is our common ground. Like, they made a deal and stuff, but who knows how that's gonna go. And then we have Krista and Elliot talking in a way afterwards, and basically it's like, you're safe and everything like this, and he's telling that to us, the audience, the friend, because he looks at the camera, Elliot. And then Krista asks, can I talk to him? Can I talk to Mr. Robot, like your dad and stuff like this? And then he's like, no, because that's just going to legitimize him further. That's going to bring him out and everything like this. Like, it's going to solidify him. That's how it's like, this seems like kind of spiritual, like weird, like American Horror Story in a way. And then he's like, that'll give him too much power. And he's like, so what do you want, Krista? Like, he goes after her again. I'm like, girl, you just hacked him. And you just hacked Krista and everything. And then he's like, well, there's like gaps and everything because like I'm losing my mind and stuff like this, and there's no control. And he's like, I acknowledge that. He's like basically acknowledging then, like, I'm crazy, yes, I get it, but like, what do you want from me? Like, I guess Elliot always feels like he's has to be on the defense and stuff just because he doesn't truly know what's happening in a way. And then she's like, okay, like, well, we need help in this, like, help you, help me, help you in a way. And then she tells him, this game is dangerous. She's like, you want to destroy this part of you, you know, forever. And then she's like, you can't, because for better or for worse, which better was maybe everyone when they took down Evil Corp, for worse, he has this mental breakdown. He's having these issues, like trust issues and daddy issues, available on iTunes now. And she's like, it's a part of you, you know, like Mr. Robot, your father is a part of you, and you really can't get rid of it. And then Elliot goes off saying like, well, annihilation is okay because like we edit and we Photoshop ourselves and everything like this. Like, it's just, it's us. Like, it's in our nature to rid ourselves of evils or like flaws and bad things in ourselves, or that we see in ourselves. But then again, it's not going to bring anything good for Elliot. It's not going to bring anything good, you know, if he plays that chess game and he wins, because it does seem from time to time that he does need Mr. Robot, you know, two heads are better than one, and advice and what to do and who to listen to. Like, you know, in Steel Mountain when he was kind of like, oh, what do I do, what do I do? And then like Mr. Robot got on things like, you need to do this, like go through here, go through whatever, you know, like I trust you, kiddo, and stuff like this. And then here's the return of a character, the Asian Caitlyn Jenner, White Rose. And then White Rose is talking to the old dude from Angela that, you know, they seem like they're in some kind of a cahoots. You know, Elliot gave White Rose something. Maybe that was the information that he gave to Angela. Who knows? And then they're like, well, time is of the essence and everything. And then, like, the old guy is saying that there's no confidence in the market. Like, whatever they're planning, like, it has to go now or whatever. But then he tells White Rose, like, this is going to take time. And if we do remember White Rose is like, oh, you have like a minute left, you have 45 seconds left, you have 30 seconds, and I'm gone. Like, you know, White Rose is very punctual. Who knows why? Maybe it's like, once I get out, like I have to get out, do what I have to do, get back and hide, like they say. And White Rose isn't having any of it, so White Rose hangs up. And then White Rose is talking in Chinese or whatever Asian language it is. That sounds so racist. About like the equine strategy. And this, I don't know, is maybe Greg Robinson's character when he was talking about the guy who was with the family who like didn't do the equine strategy right. He was trying to like migrate some things to whatever, but like it kept resetting or something on him, like he couldn't figure it out. So I was like, maybe Craig Robinson is working for White Rose, and somehow Elliot just fell into that trap, so to speak, or whatever. And then White Rose is saying like we need to go with option 2, that schedule, and it's just White Rose is saying, like I just detest patience because patience is something that White Rose doesn't have, since White Rose is very punctual, very on time, and likes to control time and hack time. So White Rose is basically told, like, just because Rome burned in one day doesn't mean it was built in one. And again, that is back to the patience and the time. Like, White Rose, no time to waste, can't waste time. It's hacking time, wants to be in control of time. Which reminds me of Alice Through the Looking Glass with the character Time, who was, like, always like, you can't escape me and anything like that. And basically, White Rose is like, well, what earrings am I going to wear to, like, her lover or, like, her husband or, like, her maid who she falls in love with, which is a guy. And then it's like, oh, like, like the right one or whatever. And then it's like, oh, what would I do without you? And White Rose kisses her, like, boy toy or whatever. And then looks in the mirror. And the mirror, like I said, has been popping up. Something I've noticed, I don't know, like, facets and stuff. Because that is, like, Through the Looking Glass, which is, again, why I'm thinking of Alice Through the Looking Glass and a bunch of other things like this. Like, seeing their own true reflections, which was referenced in season 1. And a song that came to mind was Lana Del Rey's Without You, when she's like, hello, hello, like, can you hear me? Like, I can be your China doll, obviously, because White Rose. But other things like this, and, like, everybody thinks, like, I have it all, and stuff like this. And just the lyrics and the sound of the lyrics kind of make me think about this episode just a bit. Go to Joanna, and she's at the guy's house whose wife, Tyrell, choked to death. So that's interesting to see Joanna there, in a way. Since we do remember that Joanna was kind of planning this, like, she wanted Tyrell to, like, do her something like this and to kind of, I don't remember if it was to get money or get something out of it, get a position. I can't truly remember what. But it's kind of just, again, funny seeing Joanna there and stuff like this. And then she's like, well, I spoke to HR and I need that money package. Basically, like, I need Tyrell's money and everything like this. And then she goes to telling him that, she's like, well, I'll testify basically against my husband, for my husband, whatever, like this. And then she's like, for the money. And then she's like, will we have a deal and stuff? Because we know Joanna is very, again, she seems evil, she seems mean, very badass and stuff. Stephanie Corneliuson is so cool. But I feel like we don't truly know Joanna's intentions. Like, I feel like we're all thinking one thing, but who knows if we get a big twist later on. And then she's like, I have a baby. She's like, think about the baby. Like, I need this money and stuff like this. But again, what does Joanna need the money for? Is it to pay off the guy to keep him quiet, or who knows? And then that guy, basically like how he blew off Tyrell when he gave him the watch, he's like, here, like, I heard you need money. This watch should be enough for you guys. Because he's like, y'all are poorer than me in a way. And then he tells Joanna, Tyrell's baby, huh? He's like, basically, it's going to get what it deserves, which is nothing. Leaves Joanna dead, so to speak. And we move on to Darlene getting off a train, and someone is following her and stuff like this. And then somebody almost gets hit by a car, and I don't know if that person in the car was like someone who's following her too, and like they just were a little distracted and they hit that person in the car. I mean, hit that person on a bike by accident or not. And then there's people who are walking in F Society masks and stuff. And it seems like one of them was like her boyfriend, which it is. And then he scares her and stuff like this. And then he's like, oh, like, go to like this place or whatever. And like it's a restaurant or like a bar or something. And then he's there with her. And then they talk about like the dead hacker, Romero. And then she's like, tell me, he's like the Dark Army and stuff. And he's like, from what I've read and heard. And it's like, no, like it can't be the Dark Army. Like, not really. And he just says like, you know, like if the Dark Army knows like about the FBI and stuff, he's like, well, like maybe they would do something. But it's like, as far as I know, no, like there's nothing in it for them. And then he asks about Elliot, which we do see a lot of people asking about Elliot this season. And then she says like he doesn't know and stuff, like he's just fragile and stuff. And he's like, fragile? He's like, this is like ripping apart at the seams and like shattered and stuff. Like, what the hell? Because remember last time a lot of people are saying like they don't trust Elliot, which was Malala and the Jack Black guy from F Society. And then she basically asks like, well, what are you doing here? And then he's like, oh, I want to know like you're okay and stuff. And she starts crying and everything. And she's like, just let me cry. And they start hooking up in the bathroom, which reminded me again of American Horror Story. or those two random people in the bathroom when the detective looked back. And then he tells her afterwards, like, oh, well, the FBI found your spot and stuff like this. So, like, that's something to think about. And then they're like, they have evidence and stuff. And he's like, let me help you and stuff. And it's just like, how the heck, like, did all this happen? And stuff. And if we do remember, Elliot did say the follow through afterwards, after the revolution, like, that's going to be the hardest part. Like, lives will be lost. Fortunately, Gideon was kind of an uncalled for casualty. Romero, we don't really know why he was killed. And then, of course, Darlene is probably fearing now, like, maybe she's next. Maybe Jack Black or Malala will get killed. Maybe they'll go and meet with the FBI. Who knows? But then, in between, like, the commercial break and stuff, like the Mr. Robot visual reality ad pops up. You can go online to his MrRobot.com to see that. That was the thing that appeared at San Diego Comic-Con when they were in, like, that baseball field or something, and everybody had, like, a VR thing. And I know if you would, I think, order an Uber, I think, to Comic-Con or just during there at Comic-Con, I don't know if until it finishes or wherever it's already finished, you would be able to use one of the VR things to see it, I guess, on your ride to and from wherever you're going. Anything like that. And then we go to Leon and Elliot. I'm assuming they're at lunch, I mean, they're at the diner. And then he's, like, looking at the chessboard and stuff. And then Leon says, like, do you want to play or something? Like, why is this there? And he's like, well, it's not for you and stuff. And he's just like, well, like, like, who is this for then and stuff? He's like, because, chess. He's like, he says something, I don't know if he says in my time or, like, before something. He's like, that was a thing of self-improvement. Like, and which is the same thing that Craig Robinson's character told him and stuff. He's like, so then what are you playing for? He's like, if it's not for who, he's like, what are you playing for? Like, you play for what, Elliot? And then I believe he did say resistance and stuff. And he's like, do you dream and everything like this? And he basically starts telling him, like, do you want to be here? Like, in the cosmos, do you want to exist? He's like, not here, but here, like, are you here? In a way, in the moment, so to speak, or, like, on Earth, are you grounded? And when he mentioned, like, the cosmos and existing, it made me think of Vera, which is why I say I feel like we're getting hints to old characters and stuff. Like, I mean, you do remember Vera did kill Shayla, so who knows if maybe Darlene will die this time? I don't know. Or maybe Angela, you never know. And then he's like, you need to, like, dream to, like, find that future, like, that you're fighting for and stuff. He's like, but if not, he's like, you can just fade out, like, just not exist and be non-existent at all and just disappear from everyone's life and basically the face of the earth and stuff. And I was like, is this like a suicide reference or something? Because remember, he did try to commit suicide when he, like, ate all those pills, like, to block Mr. Robot out of his mind, but who knows? And then we go to Joanna and, like, her new dude in bed that we saw when he was nude. And then she starts crying and stuff. And in a way, I thought, like, she was talking down to him to hurt him, but it seemed a little bit more than that. And then she's like, you're a DJ and stuff like this. And then she's like, you can't use really that, like, as a career to, like, afford to take me on all these travels. Because he tells her, like, before, he's like, oh, like, I want to, like, I'm a DJ. And he's like, once it goes off, like, my career, he's like, they pay you to travel. Like, you have all these cool things, thinking about, like, Zed and, like, Calvin Harris and such. Like, they have all this millions and stuff, and they're getting paid to travel here to do a show here, and they do Coachella and stuff like this. He's basically saying, like, oh, like, I can, one day in the future, if the music thing works out, like, I can afford, like, you and all these fancy, cool things and stuff. And she's like, the reason why I miss you and I date you, basically, is because you're a bartender. And then this is where I thought, like, she was talking down to him. Because she's like, you can't take me anywhere. She's like, you don't have money. She's like, you can't give me anything I want and stuff like this. And then she says, I've had it all, like, traveling and stuff, because she was married to Tyrell, in a way. And then she's like, and I'm never happy because of it. Like, she has all the money in the world, but she's not happy, which is something we always hear. Like, you can have all the money in the world, but you're never going to be happy. And then she's like, I love you more or less because you're normal and you're yourself. And she basically says, like, I love you for you. Like, like, you're just a normal dude. And it kind of reminds me of Cinderella, where she asks, like, would you take me as, like, a good old country girl, like they say? And in a way, it's kind of like the opposite. She's like, I just want you because, like, you just, I guess, fulfill her, or, like, fulfills Joanna's, like, just happiness. Like, maybe he truly does make Joanna happy, and Joanna isn't having to play a character around him, or not having to manipulate him for more money and stuff like this and anything like that. But again, who really knows? Maybe she just needs some dick, but who knows? And then we go to Elliot when he's talking about, like, when I close my eyes, it's like what I'm gonna dream about. in that future fairy tale of his, which we do get a little glimpse into. And it's he and Angela, and he talks about old friends from All Safe, that Asian guy and stuff, and I'm guessing his wife or girlfriend. I don't really remember, or if we ever got any of that. And then Darlene getting like married because she's getting proposed to, and then I do believe we see Joanna and Tyrell, and like their babies, more or less like a toddler. Like it looks like he was like 4 or 5, so not really. Um, and then the old guy Bill from Steel Mountain, that he was like, Bill, like nobody likes you basically, and like he kind of made feel small and stuff. And I started laughing when I thought, I was like, oh my god, poor Bill, just ripped him apart. And then he's hugging him and like basically saying sorry. And then they go to like a Thanksgiving dinner, and it's all of them, you know, like his friends from All Safe, Bill, Joanna, Tyrell, you know, Portia, Angela, and like Darlene and everyone. Looks like they're having a Thanksgiving dinner in the middle of the street and stuff. And he's like, you'll be there too, like us, the audience, like his friend and it's mine. And then Evil Court falls, and basically the background, they're all cheering and stuff. He's like, you know, this is a nice dream or like world that I've thought of. He's like, I would much like to fight to protect it and stuff, and basically fight to make this dream a reality. And then we go to Elliot and Mr. Robot walking in a park, and they're gonna play that chess game. And Mr. Robot is saying this is a pure battle, you know, 2 opponents, but in reality it's 1. Elliot is Mr. Robot, Mr. Robot is Elliot. So they have a stalemate, and then he's like, okay, you know what, whatever, like, we need a winner and stuff. And he's like, oh, you remember, like, when you first taught me to, like, code on the computers and stuff like this? He's like, no, he's like, but it sounds like a cool dad who, like, basically taught you this and so, like, good advice from a good father. And he's like, well, you're not my father because he's like, you're not here in reality and stuff. And he's like, well, let's reset the game because stalemate. And then he's like, okay, like, you know, everyone is going to be hunted down and stuff like this and everything like this. And he says, you know, you always have to be moves ahead, everything like this. And he says, but the only thing is like, the moves ahead or the moves I make are yours, Elliot, because Mr. Robot is in Elliot's head. In a way, a figment of his imagination. He's like, you need to see ahead and everything like this, but again, how if it's you making the moves for me, so to speak? And then he's like, there's 3 stalemates in a row. And he's like, by my calculations, like they say, he's like, that's impossible. He's like, let's play again. And then he's like, you know, you can play and everything like this and blah, blah, blah. It's like, but we're always going to be at this sort of like impasse. Like, it seems like there's never going to be like a come to Jesus moment between the 2 of them, like they say, or like peace or, you know, like revelation of sorts. So it's just like, whatever. And then he's like, well, I knew all along, you know, like fighting was going to be a waste of time with you and stuff. And then he's like, we're here for a reason together, you know, like the 2 of us, like I'm still here for some reason and like that, like you still want me here. And then he's like, there's the avoidance and everything like this. And he's like, but he's like, I have to be with you. Like, I want to be with you, you know, Elliot. Like, he's like, how Krista told him, there's a reason Mr. Robot is there, for better or for worse, whatever that reason is. I mean, in the first season, we thought it was to take down Evil Corp, you know, but then we saw a little bit of mental breakdown. But again, we still don't know what bigger role Mr. Robot has to play, of course, for the next 3 seasons, if this does stick to just 5 seasons, like Sam Esmail said. So again, we don't really know why he's there. But then we go to the old guy standing outside, and Angela's like, no, I want an office on that 20th floor, and I want Melissa's job, and that's going to be non-negotiable. And he's just like, okay. And then she talks about, like, the settlement and, like, those transcript things or whatever. And then she's like, every version of that settlement, she's like, there's a third party that must perform, like, inspections and, like, an attempt or something to drop or whatever like this. And then she's like, I know everything, and I know why, and I have all this information and stuff like this. And then it was basically like to convince them to remove like this class contingency or whatever. And then she's like, and if we do this or whatever, she's like, I get what I want in return and stuff. And then that old guy tells Angela, that's very impressive. And he's like, but everything is in your head. Basically making her feel like an Elliot, which I said, if you and Angela may become the new Elliot, maybe she gets screwed over here. And she's like, you know what, I'm going to take them down for real or whatever. She's like, I've already been taken down. And she's like, maybe she'll go to Elliot. Maybe she'll become a new member of F Society. Who knows, but I do feel Angela may be a dangerous woman. You know, more or less like how Joanna is this season. And then, and she's basically like, I know this and stuff like this. And he's basically tells her, like, you know, there's always good dreams and stuff. And just keep on dreaming. Keep on believing what you want to believe and stuff. And she tells him, like, I'm not wrong, you know, like, she's like, I know this, like, I was the missing part, and that was what she was basically very strong about, when she was talking to that attorney lady. She's like, I am, like, the missing link, like, she's gonna fight for her dreams and stuff, but she just knows she's there for a reason. Or maybe she truly isn't. She's just being played like a pawn in a game or something like this. I mean, you don't know. And then he basically tells her, go home. Like, we don't have needs for you. But it seems like he was going somewhere important. So maybe we'll know more about him. Maybe he was going to meet with White Rose. He also had another plan up his sleeve, like they say. So, again, who knows? But we go to Darlene on the phone with Elliot. Again, kind of like how Elliot was with Tyrell, so to speak. And then she's like, like I might be owned or whatever and stuff like this. And then she's like, we need to be on like the same channel and everything like this. And I don't know if that meant like a formal communication or like the same like channel. And then she's like, Elliot, like, are you there? And then Mr. Robot pops out and stuff. And then Elliot asks, when you told me you wanted Mr. Robot, she's like, you wanted him. And then she's like, not me. And then Elliot says, did you mean that? And stuff. Mr. Robot is kind of just there, kind of like listening to the conversation, so to speak. And then Darlene says, no, I want you. Again, this could be a reference to the past when she was with him, but then she wanted Mr. Robot when she made him wear the mask and, like the jacket and stuff. But then she's just like, I want you. And then she's like, basically, Elliot knows what to do. Or maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. And then Mr. Robot is saying, like, well, you can't confess and stuff like this. And then Craig Robinson is like, oh, like, who won and stuff, because we go to Craig Robinson's place. And he's like, no one and everything like that. And then he's just like, oh, well, like, what else basically is new? And then Mr. Robot is like, like, you need to walk away and everything like this. And then Craig Robinson's like, well, whatever. But Elliot does tell him, he's like, I'm here to help you with a computer problem, like, he's not going to confess yet. But he's going to help him with that computer problem that he has that supposedly they had a conversation about a while back. And then he's like, oh, like, what changed your mind and stuff and everything like this. But then he starts telling him that Moses heard voices. Abraham, John, Paul and Jesus. I guess some apostles or something, which is why I say this is touching upon religion, which I'm like, don't really know what this has to play because I'm not like a Bible reader, obviously. And then he's like, they confess to hearing all these voices and stuff, and he tells Elliot that could be divinity, if you let it, which I think I'm like, okay, like, seems Mr. Robot in this part is in his mind, but Mr. Robot is like the all-knowing, ostentatious being that they need, to take down Evil Corbin more and stuff, and then he's just like, whatever, but he gets on the computer and stuff, and then Craig Robinson's character gives Elliot directions, and he's like, oh, this is from the last guy and stuff. He's like, oh, this seems like simple, whatever, and Craig Robinson is just like, oh, well, as long as it makes sense to one of us, because, like, Elliot's going to be the one doing the job, so to speak. And then he's like, well, before you start, he tells Elliot, he's like, my online business is important. What this business is that he runs, we haven't been told, haven't seen, haven't figured out. Only thing we know is that he and this one guy that walks in is basically, maybe they beat people up, maybe they're like a kind of a bounty hunter or something like this. We don't truly know what they do, who they work for, if anything. But it basically tells Elliot, like, I'm private too. Like, I'm very much to myself, which is why I say maybe he could be dangerous. Maybe he could be a leak. Maybe he does become part of F Society. We don't know. Maybe if you'll help Elliot, like an eye for an eye, so to speak, or because he did him this favor. And then he's like, don't look where you're not supposed to, where you don't need to, and everything. And then Elliot is like, well, why is that guy here? And he's like, well, just in case something goes wrong, he has my number. He can tell me, he can take care of you. Like the strong guy will take care of Elliot and stuff. And then we do hear, like, like some kind of a squatching. And that part of his Elliot's brain. And he's like, maybe I do need this part of my brain or whatever and stuff. Mr. Robot is like, like, what has Darlene said? And then there's one thing that popped up here with the FBI called Operation Berenstain. And I don't know if you guys heard about this, but there is the Mandela effect where people thought Nelson Mandela was already dead before he died. And, like, things, more or less famous things or traditional things that we've all grown up with weren't what we thought they were. Like the mirror on the wall wasn't mirror on the wall. It's something else. But if you look up Mandela effect on Google, you'll see what I'm talking about. And the Berenstain Bears were thought to be the Berenstain Bears. I do remember them as the Berenstain Bears growing up, which is why I say I feel like this just plays more in part, not only like with religion and stuff, but like kind of doubting yourself, doubting your own existence maybe. But I was like, Berenstain, I was like, that was an interesting plot twist, so to speak, like a little minor detail and stuff like this. But if you do look up Mandela Effect or Berenstain Bears, you will see a lot of people do remember growing up, myself included, that it was Berenstain Bears. And I remember Snapchatting this, and Stephanie Corneliuson, who plays Joanna, saw this, and she's like, but there's a lot of things, and also there's stuff with Barbara Streisand. And people are like, is it Barbara Streisand or is it Barbara Streisand? You know, just, it seems like the most, I don't want to say common sense things, but you know what I mean, are twisted in a way that is like Elliot's reality. Like, I guess the twist on us would be, oh, Mr. Robot, Elliot are the same person. It's like, you know, like Berenstain. I don't know. But that's pretty interesting. And then he's like, oh, like Romero's dead and stuff and everything like this. And he's like, well, what do you think and stuff? And like, he's like, will this voice make me special, Mr. Robot, you know, like in his head and stuff. And then he's like, oh my gosh, like my sister's in trouble and stuff. And he's like, you know, he types in wait for instructions and stuff. So he isn't doing his job. He's like communicating with Darlene from Greg Robinson's computer or whatever that computer may hold and stuff like this. And then he opens up a thing where FBI switched from BlackBerry to Android and stuff. And then Mr. Robot's like, well, what are you doing? He's like, I'm going to hack the FBI. And it leaves off there. For next season, when we saw the previews, next episode of this season, when we saw the previews, I said it looked intense because it looked like as the FBI lady was coming down escalators, like in a subway or something, as they were going up, it looked like the Dark Army people, those two people that met in the car with Malala and Darlene. It does look like someone's going to run into a little bit of trouble from F Society and stuff like this. But if you haven't seen the previews and stuff, please watch it. Again, on whoismrrobot.com, The Verge is holding the after show. I really don't watch them. I don't know. I don't feel too into it and stuff like this. But so far, Elliot wants to hack the FBI, save Darlene, save F Society, clean up a trail. Who knows? Also, what that list will play in, what the FBI agent has in store for them. Maybe Elliot and Darlene, if they already are. Hacking Darlene, if they already are on Darlene. Surveillance and everything like this. So again, this season does seem like it's heating up. We did see a little bit of Joanna and stuff like this. So, you know, it's going to be a very interesting season as always. Each episode is always like... But this one did seem so cool. So again, that was my recap on episode 3 or 4, depending how you look at it and stuff like this. But it is episode 2.2, so 3 or 4, however you look at it again. So anywho, leave comments down below if you want me to like message them to make like Funko Pops of Mr. Robot and stuff like this, or maybe I'll message Stephanie on Snapchat or anything like this, or Carly Chaikin. She responded to me on Instagram. It's like she commented like, where are your comments and stuff, like it's what I look forward to the most. And I was like, girl, she had me scrambling on Instagram. But again, if you do like these or whatever, like leave your theories down below and everything like this and your thoughts and stuff down below in the comments. Please like, rate, share, and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me, and it does help me out in some way. So anywho, I want to say hi to Rami Malek. Stay safe and God bless. And if you do want to see American Horror Story Season 6 recaps, if you're a fan of that, please tell me, because I'm excited for it. You know, I kind of got into American Horror Story. Not as much as Mr. Robot, but I did. So anywho, again, I want to say hi to Rami Malek. Stay safe, God bless. So hi, Rami Malek.